Right, okay, so we're going to move on now to the second bar. What we're going to do is we are going to look at bowing this, what we can do anyway to make the bowing a little bit easier. But for now, we're just going to pretend that we would be bowing it straight, so that's without slowing, which means that every time we start this bar, we'll be starting it on an up bow. Okay? So let's begin with rhythm counting. It's going to be straightforward because it's the same rhythm as in the first and third bars. So we can do this with the metronome. We'll probably do it at 40 this time. So starting after 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... Okay, so hopefully that was okay, and if you were finding it easy in the first part, you were maybe using the foot tap with it this time. So now we're going to slow the speed down to 35, and we're going to do this on the open D string. And we need to remember always that we're starting on an up bow. So I'm going to give you a count of 4 to get in, and after that you'll get a 2 beat count between each repetition. So remember, starting on the up bow, so that's at the tip, moving towards the heel. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 3, and 4, and up. 3, and 4, and up. 3, and 4, and up. 3, and 4, and... Last one. 4, and... Okay, so hopefully you found that okay. So what we'll do is we're going to speed that up to 40, and we'll play it 4 times at 40, and then we'll move on to the next phase. So 3, and 4, and up. 3, and 4, and... 3, and 4, and... And excellent. Okay, so that's going well. So we're going to just slow that down now to 30. Okay, we want to be going really nice and slow as we add in the rhythm strings. 35, sorry, 35. So if you like, you can kind of try and work out what the rhythm strings would be. Oops. And I will write them in after I finish deleting these. Okay, cool. So remember, red is for D. So, and then we have green for A. So well done if you guessed that right. Alright, so at 30 BPM, 35 BPM, remember always to start on the up bow, and we'll have 2 beats between each repetition. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... 3, and 4, and... Three and four and three and four and three and four and last one, four and excellent. Okay, so we're just going to speed that up to 40 now. So after four, three and four and three and four and three and four and wow, I have just noticed a big mistake on my part, massive mistake. This should be a D. You probably spotted it as well and was screaming out to Chris, it's a D, not an A. Let's just try this at 40 and see how we get on. Okay, apologies for that. So after four, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and three and four 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 and last one, four and okay, well done if you got that in that short space, and apologies again for that mistake. Right, so we're going to write in fingering, and I'm going to try and get it all right this time. So starting on D2, D0, 1 and 3, the elusive 3. Okay, open up to the third finger and then open. So try this on your own without the metronome. I'm just going to slow it down now to 30. Just have a little crack there on your own with the fingering. And then we shall try it together with the metronome. Okay. So I'm going to count in a full bar just because we are playing this a bit slower now for fingering, so you can think about tuning. So it's going to be 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and three and 4 and three and 4 and okay, we're going to speed that up now just by 5, so it's not going to be too fast. After 4, 3 and 4 and that's a perfectly good speed for this tune, but we're going to crank it up to about another 5 beats just for a challenge. Starting after 4, 3 and 4 and 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 3. Excellent. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to, before we take another short break, is we're going to add in this first bar. So remember, you're starting that on the down bow, continuing through into the second bar on the up bow. Just try that on your own before we play it together. I'm going to, just as a refresher, I'm going to slow this metronome down to 35 beats per minute, and then we'll try the 2 bars together. Okay? So I'm going to get my violin ready. And if you don't feel like you've got enough time, just pause the video. Okay, so at 35 beats per minute, let's see if we can play this all the way through. Okay, starting after 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3. Okay, great. I'm assuming that's alright, so we're going to move on to 40 for our challenge. Play this through a few times like this, and then we'll take a short break. So after 4, 3 and 4 and 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 4 and excellent. Okay, gonna take a short break there. So